upset me greatly. When I was a kid, Mad Magazine was the magazine.
And it was. Guess what? We need to go on break. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. Well, what can I say? Here's a great song by a great friend of mine.
Diving for a dream, scintillas in the stream, hoping for what's true. I'm trawling for honor in this shallow pool. Borealis starlit crown arches over the Puget Sound. Berenice's hair drapes the horizon to the full air. There is my lucky star tonight, the seventh sister of the Pleiades, walks in beauty like the night.
Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you The World Paranormal News with James Creechbaum. Now, the latest news.
Scientists expect a rise in sea level by 23 meters. An international team of scientists found that with the complete melting of sea ice around Antarctica and the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere remaining at 400 parts per 1 million over the course of a century, sea level will rise by 23 meters. However, now that concentration of carbon dioxide has reached 415 parts per 1 million, reports the Nature. Scientists believe that the climate will change in the near future and become the same as 3 million years ago in the Pliocene era. The extensive melting of the Greenland, West Antarctic, and sea ice of Antarctica will lead to the increase in sea level of about 20 meters. It turned out that during the Pleistocene era, a gradual warming of the climate took place. The sea level periodically rose to an average of 13 meters and to a maximum of 25 meters. During this period, the Antarctic glaciers had a great influence on the sea level rise. The warming that is happening now has no connection with changes in the amount of sunlight, since it has not changed lately. Climatologists believe that the current warming is caused by anthropogenic emissions of carbon into the atmosphere. Moreover, its concentration has record values over several million years. Now, on to the next, killer robots. Yes, killer robots will be the next weapons of mass destruction. At the moment, robotics is actively developing, as well as artificial intelligence. This technology is implemented not only in ordinary life, but also in the military sphere. Engineers create autonomous systems for the armed forces. Experts from Dutch nonprofit organization PAX are confident that the symbiosis of technology can lead to the appearance of killer robots. The task of making decisions regarding whether or not to save a life of one or another subject will fall on the shoulders of robots. Activists are now struggling to stop this. It is known that active development is underway in Russia, the U.S., Israel, Turkey, and China. States need to develop some rules for the use of smart weapons and robotic systems. Moreover, the regulation should be international, accepted by all players. Machines must not be allowed to get out of control. If nothing changes, the plot of the movie Terminator may come true. Now, on a kind of a sad note, a man dies after falling down a lava tube in his yard. A 71-year-old man in Hawaii was killed after he fell down a lava tube that had opened up in his own garden. It is believed that the man who lived in the town of Hilo had been clipping the bushes in his garden when the ground gave away beneath his feet and he fell into an old lava tube beneath the property. The alarm was raised after a friend called the police, having not seen or heard from him in days. When officers arrived at the house, they found the hole and realized that he must have fallen in. His body was later recovered by the Hawaii Fire Department. His injuries were consistent with the fall, and there is not believed to be any suspicious circumstances around his death. While accidents like this are very rare, lava tubes can and do pose a danger in those living in Hawaii and other places with significant amount of volcanic activity. Lava tubes are underground tunnels that form from rivers of molten rock. Once they cool down, most are quite strong and can even survive having large buildings constructed on top of them. Some, however, can collapse under the right circumstances. The lava tube that the man fell into was thought to have formed during the eruption back in 1880.
From our compound, from the West Coast to the East Coast to worldwide, both on the internet and terrestrial radio, you're listening to Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark.
And here I am, and it is After Dark. We got Tim Swartz on. James, you did a good job with the news. I'll tell you one thing. Killer robots. You know, they've been talking about that for years, and I've seen some of the stuff, you know, that have been surfacing. The technology on it is getting really scary.
I got to tell you something. I've seen where they have little drones about the size of fit in your hand, and they can let off thousands of these out of planes, thousands, and they can program to track people, and they'll come right up to you, and they can shoot almost a bullet and go right to your brain, and you're dead. I mean, the stuff they can do is scary.
I don't know. Maybe we need to go back in time. What do you think, Tim?
I've seen video of those little drones that you were just talking about. They could hover right in front of your face and set off a charge. Like I said, it's almost like a bullet that it would be targeted just for you. Nobody else. If you were standing in a crowd using face recognition technology, this drone could pick you out and assassinate you, and nobody would be able to stop you unless, I don't know, maybe somebody had a fly swatter or something like that.
It's scary. You know, also it's been surfacing, not just on Facebook, but on all kinds of media. They have a robot that is actually, they put a gun in its hand, it goes out and does target shooting like in combat situations. And basically, I tell you, I wouldn't want to fight against one of them. I tell you, a human would not win against one of these things. That is how fast our technology is going.
Well, that's why we need to program into them Asimov's laws of robotics.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I start saying, if you're not familiar with that, one of the main clauses was that there'd be that a robot would be incapable of harming a human being in any way or capacity.
Yeah, too. They got enough intelligence built into them down the road where they look at us like, remember Star Trek? Oh, humans, you're nothing more than, oh no, we got to get rid of your species.
That's right. We were talking in the previous segment about upcoming technology and how things can rapidly change for society. And it got me to thinking, again, along the subject of time travel. And I'm not sure if you are familiar with this story, but allegedly, starting in the 1950s, there was an Italian Benedictine monk by the name of Father Ernetti. He was from Venice, and he was an expert on ancient forms of music, Gregorian chants, and things like that. And he got the idea that there could be a way, possibly, because of, energy cannot be created or destroyed. And he got to thinking that possibly these ancient songs that were being sung, especially like in chapels and places like that he could come up with a way to gather up these past electromagnetic energies. And because he was apparently a favorite of some people in the Vatican, he was able to secure funding and get some very predominant scientists to work on this with him. And allegedly, he came up with a device called the chronovisor. Now, this device enabled its user to observe past events. He was able to actually claim that he was able to take photographs that were produced by this chronovisor. He was able to record music, ancient music, and then write it down to present to scholars. And this was it originally was published in an Italian newspaper in 1972. It's a story that's not that well known in the West. There's if you look this up, there's a couple of photographs that Father Ernetti claimed that he took of Jesus dying on the cross, a close-up of his face. But unfortunately, not a lot of information has come out on just exactly how this device was supposed to work. The theory was somewhat like it was almost like a television, but instead of picking up local television stations, it was picking up the energies from past events. You take that a step further if you consider that the universe is a block universe where the past, present, and future all exist at some point within the universe, that a device like this may also be capable of picking up future events, or if you think that the future may be a number of different events, and that as you get closer to it, it kind of like narrows down to one, then you may be able to check out, I guess, a multitude of possible future events and choose which direction that you're going to take. So possibly this may be one of these future life-changing technological events like the internet that our children's children will have to deal with.
Well, I remember reading about that a long time ago, and I don't know. I don't know if he picked it up from watching TV and got the idea you could go back in time, but it's an interesting read. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, well, the people after he passed away, and I guess after the initial success of this device, I guess the Vatican decided that this could fall into the wrong hands, because I mean, if you had the ability to look into the past, then you would have the ability to get all kinds of secrets to blackmail people or what have you. And so the Vatican issued a decree in which warned that anybody using an instrument like this would be excommunicated. But the people who knew Father Ernetti said that they had no doubt that what he was telling was true, because he was not the type of person to make up a story like this. He was just too good, too honest of a person, and a scholar in his own right.
I could see something like that could really change if you could go back in the past and view the past. I mean, it could change the whole thing about religion. It could change the world events. It could change, who knows, we might